Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for joining with the second meeting through video of Zoom. In around 10 minutes something, me, myself, would like to present about the second topic of the qualitative research in language education, right? So here we go. Yeah, hopefully that all of us have a kind of a better condition in a nice atmosphere of teaching and learning process. So before moving on to the business, talking about the experiencing research, it's nice for us to recite Umul Kitab, please. Okay, thank you. I do hope that you can enjoy. This is the second video you would like to play through your SIM account. Here I have 7 slides kaya, to present. After knowing about the course description and then the objective and then the activities through this semester dealing with the course, now I would like to move on to the next step that is about the research itself. Here we go that in research we have to make a kind of experience, could be in an individual or in a team, yeah, because the project of the research is a kind of research paper itself. Dealing with the research, I would like to go to this one. So now here I would like to give some points talking about the definition and then about the nature of the research itself. Here, we have the process and product components for the first item. Because of what, as we know, the research is a kind of process. Sometimes it's a very long process based on the method we would like to use. And then after completing the process, we would like to have a kind of the product. What kind of product could be a kind of an innovation, or maybe in the academic writing, we would like to produce an academic paper later before graduation. So you have to upload in a certain journal, or maybe you would like to have a participation in the conference. So the product is not an article in the journal, but an article in the conference. And then for the second point, that the process of the research would like to involve the first is problem definition. So you have to clearly state about what is the main problem. I think that it's gonna be alright if you only have one single problem because of what it's really complicated if you have more than that. So it seems that you would like to produce more than one articles later. And then, after defining the problem, you have to state an objective and formulating an hypothesis dealing with gathering information, classifying, analyzing, and interpreting to see to what extent that the initial objective has been achieved. So, this kind of materials, okay, I took coming from the handout of the qualitative uh, research method as one of the traditions in a language learning education research. And then the third is about the structured investigation. Okay, undertaking structured investigating, okay, or investigation, which hopefully result in a greater understanding of the chosen interest area. Ultimately, this investigation becomes accessible to the public. Okay, public. Okay. And then the fourth is about an activity which analyzes and critically evaluates some problems. Dealing with the problems itself, so you have to underline that you will raise with only single problem. And then the fifth items talking about the research is collecting and analyzing the data in a specific field with the purpose of proving your theory. So in the last slide, I would like to show you how come coming from the theory, okay, we would like to move to the hypothesis, okay, and then the last point is the result. And then the last one is evaluation, asking questions, investigation, analysis, confirming hypothesis, overviewing, gathering and analyzing data in a specific field according to certain predetermined method. Those are okay, the things that you have to know about the basic or the nature from the research. Now, we would like to go to the research process. The first one is formulating questions because of what coming from the curiosity, the eagerness to know about what kind of problem, so have to formulate the question itself. After that, later on, talking about the method, talking about the how to analyze the data, you have to go to the second path or steps, that is the collecting data. And then the third is analyzing it. That is the data. That's about the research process. Now I would like to move on to the reasons in carrying a research. Here I am going to show you 5 points. The first says research is carried out in order to what? Yeah, the first, get a result with a scientific method objectively. Here, objectively means, okay, not subjectively. The second one is solve problems, verify the application of theories, and lead on to new insights. And then the third, okay, enlighten both researcher and any interested readers. The fourth, prove or disapprove new or existing ideas to characterize phenomena, that is, the language characteristics of a particular population, and to achieve personal and community aims, that is, to satisfy the individual's case, but also to improve community welfare. The last point is about proof, okay, or disapproving. Okay, carry out what is planned, to support the point of view, to uncover what is not known, and satisfy inquiry, to discover the cause of a problem, to find the solution to a problem, and etc. After knowing why that we have to carry out research, the reasons, now we would like to go to the characteristics of research process. So the first is talking about the logical. Okay. How come that this, okay, belongs to the logical? Here that the research follows, yeah, a system that employs logic at many points. Biological examination of the procedures employed in an experiment relative to the requirement of internal validity. The researcher is able to check the validity of the conclusion drawn. The next characteristic is empirical. Here, research has a reality reference. Much deduction may precede its application, but data are the end of research procedure. The third is reductive. When a researcher applies analytic procedures to the data collected, he or she reduces the confusion of individual events and objects to move understandable categories of concepts. The last says about replicable. Okay, here that research is replicable and transmittable. How come? Because it is recorded. Okay, the data is being recorded and then going to be generalized and replicated. Therefore, the research is considerably less transitory in nature than are the products of other problem-solving process. Thus, individuals other than the researchers may use the results of study, and one researcher may build upon the research result of another. Okay, those are the 4 points of the characteristics in research process. The next is how about the steps in research process? The first, as we known before in the previous slide, is identifying a problem, constructing a hypothesis, reviewing the literature, identifying and labeling variables, constructing operational definition, manipulating and controlling variables, constructing a research design, identifying and constructing devices for observation and measurement, constructing questionnaire and interview schedules, carrying out data analysis, and then the last is, of course, writing a research report. Among these steps, you may count by yourself 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, 11 steps in a research process. It can be summarized into this, okay, that the mechanism. The first is the basic is about theory, okay. Make sure that the theory you've got is no more than 10 years before. But if it is grounded theory and it deals with about the method, okay, it will be alright. And then after gathering the theory, you have to make the hypothesis. Okay, you have to link, okay, the experience in the research with the theory. And then after doing those two steps, you have to research by yourself or by team, okay, individually or in a group. So the data, okay, and then its analysis coming from the research, it should be okay, generated in a certain result before creating it into a kind of scientific or academic research report. Okay, thank you. This is the second meeting about the experiencing research. See you in the next video will be about the research method. Yeah. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.